What if I told you that the greatest threat to your future is in your circumstances, is in your finances, it is in your education, it is in your past? It's the conversation happening inside your own mind. Because long before people give up on their dreams, they first give up on themselves. It happens quietly. One thought becomes a belief, that belief becomes a decision, that decision becomes a habit, and before they realize it, they build a life around limitations that never had to define them. But here's the good news. The mind that learned those limitations can also learn new possibilities. Today isn't about pretending life is easy. It's about discovering how protecting your mind can completely change the direction of your life. Welcome to Mindset, Momentum, and Intention, where every thought has a purpose, every step builds momentum, and every day is another opportunity to become the best person you're meant to be. Have you ever noticed how two people can experience the exact same challenge, yet respond in completely different ways? One sees the obstacle, the other sees an opportunity to grow. One says, "This is impossible." The other one asks, "What can this teach me?" The situation is the same. The difference is the lens through which they see it. That lens is created by the thoughts they choose to nurture every day. Whether we realize it or not, our minds are always listening. Every sentence we repeat to ourselves becomes a vote for the kind of person we're becoming. When you constantly tell yourself, "I'm not good enough, I'm too old, I'm too late, I'll never succeed," your brain doesn't stop to debate those statements. It begins looking for evidence to support them. So suddenly, everything and every setback feels like proof. Every mistake feels permanent. Every rejection becomes like a confirmation that the story you've been telling yourself must be true. But what if the story itself is wrong? Think about that for a moment. Not every thought deserves your trust. Not every opinion deserves your agreement. Not every fear deserves your attention. Imagine someone walking into your home every morning and filling every room with negativity, telling you that you'll never amount to anything, reminding you of every mistake you've ever made, pointing out every weakness while ignoring every strength. You wouldn't allow that person to stay in your house. You ask them to leave. Yet many of us unknowingly allow those same voices to live rent-free inside our minds. We replay old failures, we relive embarrassing moments, we compare ourselves to people whose journeys are completely different from our own. And little by little, our peace begins to disappear. Here's something we're remembering. Your mind is your home. And just like your home, it deserves protection. You lock your front door, you protect your loved ones, you insure your possessions, but you don't protect your thoughts with the same level of care. Every thought you entertain has the potential to shape tomorrow. This doesn't mean pretending that negative thoughts never appear. Everyone experiences doubt. Everyone experiences fear. Everyone experiences uncertainty. The goal isn't to eliminate every negative thought. The goal is to stop giving those thoughts authority over your life. Imagine you're sitting beside a busy highway. Hundreds of cars pass by every minute. You notice them, but you don't chase every single one. Thoughts work much the same way. Thousands pass through your mind each day. Some deserve your attention, many do not. Learning the difference is one of the greatest skills you can ever develop. The next time a discouraging thought enters your mind, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. Is this actually true? Is this helping me become the person I want to be? Would I say these words to someone I deeply love? Those 3 questions have the power to interrupt years of automatic thinking. Because often, the harshest voice we ever hear is our own. Would you tell your best friend they're a failure because they made one mistake? Would you tell your child they'll never succeed because they struggle once? Of course not. You've encouraged them. You remind them they've learned before and can learn again. You've helped them see possibilities instead of limitations. So why speak to yourself with less compassion than you offer others? Protecting your mind begins with changing that conversation. Instead of saying, I'll never figure this out, try saying, I'm still learning. Instead of, I'm not capable, say, I haven't mastered it yet. Instead of, I always fail, say, every attempt teaches me something valuable. Notice the difference? These aren't empty affirmations. They're honest statements that leave room for growth. And they acknowledge reality without surrendering to it. One word can change everything. Yet, I can't do this becomes, I can't do this yet. That tiny word opens the door to possibility. It reminds you that today's limitations don't have to become tomorrow's identity. Growth is rarely dramatic. It happens quietly, one decision, one lesson, one habit, one day at a time. Every strong tree begins as a seed. Every successful business begins as an idea. Every meaningful friendship begins with a simple and single conversation. And every transformed life begins with one thought that says, maybe I can. One of the most overlooked truths about life is this: your environment is constantly shaping your thoughts. Even when you think you're in control, what you see, hear, and consume every day is quietly influencing how you see yourself. The conversations you engage in, the content you scroll through, the people you spend time with, all of it becomes part of your inner dialogue. And over time, that inner dialogue becomes your identity. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, criticism, or limitation, it becomes easier to believe those things are normal. Not because they're true, but because they're familiar. This is why protecting your mind, it's not about isolation, it's about intention. You don't need to cut everyone off, but you do need to become aware. Ask yourself, does this influence help me grow? Or does it slowly drain my energy and focus? Because not everything that is accessible is beneficial. And not every voice deserves equal weight in your life. There is a difference between hearing information and internalizing it, between exposure and acceptance. The strongest people in life are not the ones who hear the least negativity. They're the ones who learn not to absorb it. Think about your daily routine. Most people wake up and immediately expose their minds to noise. Social media, news, messages, opinions. Before they even had a moment of clarity, their minds is already reacting to the world instead of creating their own direction. And that matters more than most people realize, because the first input of your day often sets the tone for everything that follows. If the first thing you consume is stress, you tend to carry stress. If the first thing you consume is comparison, you tend to feel behind. If the first thing you consume is inspiration, you tend to move with intention. This is not about perfection, it's about direction. Small adjustments in what you allow into your mind can create massive shifts in how you experience your life. Now, here's something important. Protecting your mind does not mean avoiding difficulty. It means choosing how you respond to it. Life will always bring challenges, but not every challenge deserves a negative interpretation. Sometimes failure is not a sign that you're not good enough. It's simply feedback. Sometimes rejection is not a reflection of your worth, it's redirection. Sometimes confusion is not a weakness. It's part of learning something new. The moment you change the meaning you assign to experiences, you change your emotional response to them. And when your emotional response changes, your actions change. And when your actions change, your future changes. This is how transformation actually happens. Not in one dramatic moment, but in small internal shifts that gradually reshape your direction. Now let's talk about something even deeper. Most people think their thoughts are random, but over time, thoughts become patterns, and patterns become habits, and habits become identity. If you repeatedly think, I'm not capable, you begin to avoid challenges. If you repeatedly think, I never succeed, you stop trying as often. If you repeatedly think, nothing works out for me, you begin to overlook opportunities. But the opposite is also true. If you begin to think, I can learn this, you start taking action. If you think, I can improve, you start practicing. If you think, something good can come from this, you start paying attention to possibility. This is why your awareness is so powerful. You cannot change what you do not notice. And most people move through life reacting to thoughts instead of observing them. But the moment you start observing your thoughts, you create space between you and them. In that space, you gain choice. You are no longer your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. And that changes everything. Now, let's bring this together. Protecting your mind is not about living in a perfect world. It's about building a strong inner world that it's not easily shaken by the outer one. It is choosing what you repeat to yourself when no one is listening. It is deciding what beliefs you will reinforce daily. It is becoming intentional about the voice you trust most, the one inside your own head, because that voice will either build you or limit you. There is no neutral ground. Now ask yourself honestly, what kind of life would I create if I truly believe I was capable of growth? What would I attempt if I stopped believing I was behind? What would I change if I trusted myself a little more each day? You don't need all the answers right now. You just need a better question than the one you asked yesterday. And then another better question tomorrow. That is how new thinking begins, and new thinking leads to a new behavior, and a new behavior leads to a new life. Protecting your mind, not because the world is always negative, but because your future is shaped by what you consistently allow to take root inside you. Protect your peace. Protect your focus. Protect your self-belief. Because everything you are becoming depends on what you decide to think about today. If this message resonated with you, you're not here by accident. You're here because you're ready to think differently, grow intentionally, and build something better for your life. Subscribe and join the Mindset, Momentum, and Intention community. We're building more than motivation here. We're building direction, discipline, and daily progress. And if this video helped to encourage you or gave you a new perspective, you can support the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. Every contribution helps me continue creating content that inspires growth, clarity, and intentional living. Your support truly means a lot. And remember this, every thought you protect today becomes part of the future you living tomorrow. So be intentional, be aware, be patient with yourself as you grow, and always remember, protect your mind, build your momentum, live with intention. Until next time, keep believing, keep growing, keep building momentum, and always live with intention.